Have you ever stepped into your backyard to just look at all the potential it has, and yet you just turn around, you left it there, underused, treated it like a dumping ground, and just forgot about it? Because I know you have. Well, not anymore. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 6 design tips that will help you transform your backyard into a stunning Oasis resort-like that just feels calm, it feels luxurious, and it just feels like you. Well, if you're ready, then let's just get started. So let's talk about lighting. I feel like lighting is the quickest and easiest way to introduce a fresh look to your space without doing much. And the good news about lighting in an outdoor setting is that you have a lot of types. I'm just gonna go through a few ones, but just to give you an overarching idea, we have pendant lightings, we have lanterns, we have sconces, we have standalone posts. So I'm gonna talk about each one, but just to give you an idea that there's plenty of ways to lighten up a space without doing much. So let's talk about pendants. These are just your basic pendant lights. You know, everybody has one of those cheap ones from Home Depot, but I just want you to be a little bit more intentional about your pendant lights. Let's look at this first example here. This is a rattan pendant, but look at that shadow it's casting on the floor. That's just the pendant being a pendant. It's not doing anything much, it's not doing anything extra, but yet it's casting a beautiful shadow that can add that whimsical touch to your space. This is one in just a lighting during the day. Here's another one that I really like. It has that super sophisticated look with a chandelier, yet it has the round metal around it to make it look like it's for an outdoor setting. Just very simple things. Like I'm not asking anything fancy, just a few little design intentions that will really go a long way for your space and your backyard. Let's talk about lanterns. Lanterns, it has this resort-like, and it just shows that you are trying to add a little bit of accessories here in terms of lighting, and of course it adds more lighting, and yet it could be its own sculptural thing that you can add as a decor. And then there is sconces. Sconces, of course, very simple way of adding a touch of light without doing much. Of course, I would stay away for anything that's a little bit basic, and you can add a little bit of modern look to it. It doesn't even have to be modern if your house is not modern, but I'm just giving you an example how that light can really create an ambiance that it's just incomparable to anything that you can ever do to your backyard. There's another one here for posts. If you have more of a bigger backyard, you can do these standalone ones, and again, they act as their own kind of sculptural thing, but at the same time they are functional and then giving you some more lights. Now let's talk about some of the kind of not conventional way of lighting the space, and they might require a little bit of more work, a little bit of electrician that might need to come to wire all of these for you. But let's talk about strip lighting. Strip lighting is another way, again, to just make your space feel like a resort. And when I compare to resort, I'm not here, you know, wanting everybody to turn their homes into a hotel, but these hotels and these resorts are designed for the ultimate experience. Like I can't even find the word for that. It's designed for you to spend the best time of your life, and you're spending so much money, so they make an effort to design it a certain way that it's gonna make you feel good. So that's why I keep referring to these resorts, because they are the ultimate design experience. And if you have these at your place, it's gonna feel like that, and you're gonna feel good. I'm not trying to turn your home into a 5-star resort, but it gives you the experience. It gives you that feeling that you are like, you know, it's calm, like I am okay, I'm here, I'm sitting, I feel luxurious, I feel just I feel like I'm having a good time. Okay, that's the whole point of my comparison with the resort. So strip lighting, again, you can do them for steps, you can do them under your planters. If you have any boxer planters, you can do them in like really nice detail. In here you see they just have like a typical paving, and it just has a little bit of touch underneath. Nothing, when you think about it, nothing fancy. You can also do upward lighting. I feel like this one gets forgotten a lot of the time, and you just go to a backyard and just all the trees are dark, and then the minute you lit up something from the bottom up, woo, it just takes it to another level. And you can see how the tree here is lit up from the top, from the bottom. Same with these ones here, same with this one. I believe this is an RH in Yountville. Just another one here, and they just look like this. I mean, true, you might need to wire it somewhere, but it's not gonna take a lot of effort and money from your end. Here's another one that just kind of lighten up the pathway. And then of course we get the string fairy lighting that, I mean, I like them, but I feel like they are not very elevated. You kind of like that fairy lighting when you're a teenager or something. It's still cozy and nice, but I just don't feel like it really elevates the space in a very high-end way, which is fine. If you like the fairy lighting, please go for it. There's a reason why I put them here, because they do have that cozy feeling, and I like them in certain settings, but not all the time. So that was everything about lighting. Now let's move into paving and flooring. So a lot of people have just plain concrete in their backyards, and I'm okay with that. Nothing against concrete, but again, it just goes back to my point where just you want to be a little bit intentional about your design. You want to do concrete, fine, but please give me some details. Show me that you tried a little bit. And here are ways of you showing me that you tried. So if you do a concrete paving and then you have, your grass on the side, show me a little bit of a gap around here. Just a tiny little bit. Let me change the color here. Just a tiny little bit of a gap here. Put some different type of stone there, and then with the strip lights. And I'm not gonna have anything against your concrete paving, because it shows me that you gave it a little bit of thought. Same thing here, just a typical concrete paving, but just show a little bit of differences between this is the paving, this is the side with the stone, this is where my plants are. So that way your eye is not just looking at this huge block of concrete and it looks very uninspiring. But if you just add a little bit of paving on the side, a little bit of stone, it shows that design intention. Here's another quick way of doing it. I really like doing the concrete with the turf in between, or with some decomposite granite here. Here's another one, just a paving and then stones on the side, because also the stones, not only they are showing different textures on the floor, they're also hiding the dirt. And I see a lot of people, they just leave the dirt exposed, and then the dirt start spilling over your pathway, and it just looks messy and not resort-like. And I don't see why not. You can just put some stone on top of it or some turf on top of it, and it just covers it, and it looks like you have a landscaper who's coming there and watching out for your garden, even though it's a super quick way to elevate your design. Here's another one. Even this one, they don't even have any concrete, but just some decomposite granite here or some stone with some lavender, some rosemary. Ooh, so pretty, especially if you're in a dry climate like in California or a Mediterranean climate. This is a beautiful setting. And of course, another option would be a wooden deck. This is the quickest way to make it feel like a tropical, like in Thailand or Bali look. They have these wood planks, and it looks really nice. It's really nice on the feet when you're walking bare feet, and very cheap option to elevate your backyard instead of just having it an unfinished floor. So now let's talk about my third tip, which is a visual anchor. And this one, it goes without saying, you need something that is the main element of your backyard, and that way you're just showing some hierarchy in your space. And hierarchy, it's very important in design, because the eye, when you first walk into your space, the eye is usually very overwhelmed with so many things to look at. But when you give it one thing to look at, then you're recentering the eye, and it really helps it. Okay, I'm gonna look at this first, I'm gonna look at this second, third, fourth, fifth. Now, the best visual anchor for any space in a backyard or any outdoor area is having a water feature. It doesn't have to be a very expensive fountain, or it doesn't have to be a very expensive, elaborate, whatever water feature, but just the little ones. You can buy them fairly affordably from Home Depot, something similar to this or something similar to this, and just the sound of the water trickling, it has a very calming feeling. So I would say definitely invest in something like that. And of course, the other one that goes without saying, fire pits. Fire pits is the quickest way to make your space feel very cozy, warm, relaxing. And again, you can buy them they're ready. I found one here in Home Depot. I'm just gonna click the link here for you. This is $973, not expensive at all for something that you will just buy once in your lifetime and you just forget about it. Very, very summery feel. And these are the places where you're gonna share a lot of memories, the places where you're gonna have a lot of fun events with your loved ones. So I would say go for it. You should definitely invest in something similar to that, because these moments are priceless. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so now we talked about visual anchor. Let's move to landscape layering. Okay, so landscape layering is something that's pretty new to me, and when I read it, I was like, what? How come I never heard of this before? And it's this thing that I'm about to share with you. So when you look at a backyard, you see that a lot of backyards just have this really nice, well-designed trees and plants around them, but you don't know why. And some backyards, they just look flat, because the backyards that look good have landscape that are layered. And let me explain. So let's look at this picture here. So you will see plants that are kind of in the short range here. You know, we're talking about 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet high, and then you get something in the middle. So we're talking about, you know, like maybe 8 to 10 in height, and then we're talking about something extremely tall. We're talking about 12 and more feet. So let's look at another example. This example here, you get like a little bit of shrubs, and then you get a little bit of like kind of a medium, and then you get really tall, and you're like having this idea of like foreground, middle ground, and then background. Here's another one. You get some shrubs, you get something in the middle, and then you get really tall trees. And this just blew my mind when I heard it. And this is the best way to have a lush, luxurious looking backyard and looking landscape. And they use this a lot in tropical resorts, because the eye is not looking at just like one height, or it's just one plane. The eye loves to see some depth, and this is exactly the best way to introduce depth in your landscaping. So that was landscape layering. Now I'm gonna move to accessories. So accessories is, I have a little bit of everything here, but these are things that are gonna be the cherry on the top. They are not the main thing. You do need to get your lighting straight. You do need to get your paving straight. You do need to get your landscape straight. Then we get to accessories. So accessories, we're talking about your umbrella. Umbrellas can be very basic, but why don't you be a little bit playful with it and, you know, go for something that's a little bit retro with these stripes, for example. It looks very like French Riviera. It looks very Palm Spring. It just, again, be intentional, show a little bit of details. Don't be basic. Not that there's anything basic. I'm wearing a white basic t-shirt, but you know what I mean, okay? Let's talk about rugs. Rugs, you know, there's the rattan rugs. It gives a little bit of, again, texture, a little bit of warmth. It adds a little bit of depth to your flooring. And it has a little bit of roughness. Of course, it's not something that you're gonna like really walk bare feet on top of it all day long, but who cares? Sometimes I would sacrifice a little bit of beauty for function, of course, just a little bit, but it's totally worth it. And sometimes there's some that are pretty soft, and you can just like walk around and then see how they feel before you commit to purchasing it. Let's talk about rattan furniture. One thing that will kill your design backyard is if you have any furniture that's plasticky or metal. And metal, some of them might be okay, but plastic, it's a no-no. Just don't, all right? Just don't. Go for a rattan furniture. I know it might be a little bit expensive, but again, you are investing in these things. You are probably gonna buy it once and forget about it if you're taking really good care of it. And these are where you're gonna spend some of the priceless moments in your life. So please splurge in these kind of things. Let's talk about textured pillows. Of course, you can just throw in some pillows here to make your space look a little bit cozy. That's a really nice way of introducing some accessories. Let's talk about different planter sizes. A lot of time I see people, they go to buy planters and then they just buy the same size over and over again. And it just makes your space look very plain and monotone, because there's, again, no hierarchy. There's no like bigger, smaller, medium size. You know, the eye is not very entertained when it just sees the same thing over and over again. So play with that a little bit. Of course, you cannot, you know, buy bigger scale things that are different sizes. Let's say you can probably not buy like a bigger table, a smaller table or something, but planters can be a very cheap way of introducing that hierarchy without, you know, breaking the bank. And then last but not least, I left this last because this might require a little bit of an investment. It's going to require a little bit of more planning and more capital, but it's worth mentioning. Having a pergola with curtains. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is the ultimate experience of just romanticizing your backyard, just making it feel softer, just feeling like you're in your a little princess era, and I just love that. I mean, it doesn't even have to be princess, you could be a prince, but it just feels very luxurious, very charming, very like I just want to sit there all day long and nap and just not go inside the house at all. These are just a beautiful way, again, of introducing a bit of intentionality. Is that even a word? Intentionality? And just making it look cozy and very cheap. For very cheap, like, I mean, goddamn, curtains are cheap. It's just fabric, okay? I mean, you can invest in something a little bit expensive, but I don't mind having something cheaper and then changing it again next year, or invest in something more expensive and then keep it forever. Up to you. But fabric usually is not a major investment. And then you just have your little chandelier here, your little rattan chairs, your little rug, your ooh, so pretty, so pretty. And then next I want to talk about fences. Fences are, I don't know why people still use ugly looking fences. And of course, ugly is a subjective word, but there are so many manufacturers right now that design stunning fences for not very expensive. Maybe expensive, again, is also a subjective topic, but there is a lot of options that you can choose from. And then, yeah, people keep choosing this one. I'm gonna insert a picture here. You've seen it everywhere. I still see it in brand new homes. Why? No clue. So I'm just showing you here some type of fences that you can use. And I'm, again, not expecting anything Michelangelo type of, you know, sculptural fence, whatever. Just simple wood or whatever aluminum this thing is, or just super duper basic slats. Here's another one, kind of like the Shushigaban Japanese, you know, they burn the wood to preserve it. I don't know if that's what it is, but it has that look. Here's another one that you can use for your vines, for your plants to grow on. Another one that's very simple with steel or metal. Another one, again, just simple slats with some sconces, a little banquettes. We're not, you know, it's not rocket science. We're not doing anything completely out of the ordinary, but it's just when you combine all of these tips that I'm sharing here, these 6 tips, the lighting, you get the paving, you get a visual anchor, you have your landscape layer, you have your accessories, and you have your nice pergola or nice fence. All of these things are just gonna tie together and just gonna create this beautiful, again, oasis-like backyard that you can use and you can really enjoy with your loved ones. I mean, again, it doesn't have to be very large backyard. It could be a very small, intimate backyard with just these little tips. You can turn it into something really stunning. And of course, if you have a bigger backyard, you know, like the more the merrier, and you can even use it in a way that it's planned into sections. You know, this is where the kids play, this is where you can have your food and your barbecue, this is where you can have your lounge and your TV, this is where you can have your pool. You can just be very creative with this more space you have. So anyhow, that's pretty much everything I wanted to share with you today. I wish you found this a little bit helpful. As usual, I'm going to leave a PDF guide for all the steps that I shared, and I'm going to try to leave some links for things that I mentioned if you're interested in using that for your backyard. And that was it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, share with your loved ones that you're going to have all the memories with in your backyard. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.